My name is Angie Parker. I've been in the Seattle area for about 15 years now, a former Air Force aviator on AWACS. I was a radar technician on AWACS. So technical background to start off with. Yeah, so let's just jump right in. So entrepreneurial marketing comes out of the process of customer discovery, which is one of my ultimate passions. So we're just gonna go over what I believe entrepreneurial marketing is. I'm gonna say that word right. And what that means to me through the customer discovery process. Again, former Air Force aviator, fell into the world of startups, very much was the I'll do that, I'll wear all the hats position, chief of staff-esque type of operations role. So support, for executives in the Air Force as well as CEOs and founders. And I have worked my way to the right-hand man position in all of those startups that I've worked at in the last decade or so. From there, went back to business school and really wanted to get on the funding side of entrepreneurial market or entrepreneur ecosystem, and worked at Context Ventures, which is a veteran-founded and focused early-stage VC firm. And then as of about a month ago now, I'm now the executive director of the Alliance of Angels. So that is my background. And if you take nothing else away from today, from my talk, is that most startups fail. Most startups fail because there's no market need. How do we, as entrepreneurs and marketers, solve for that? Well, it's not an equation you can bet on, but it is a directionally correct path to take to find both idea validation and a beginning brain strategy. And so I just heard a joke that today, what do you call a unicorn that can't raise its next round? A unicorpse. Sorry, it was bad, but this is a busy slide on purpose, but I do want to show that it's a cycle. And so you start from the top left of you have an idea. What do you do with this idea? Well, is it feasible to you? Can you do it right now? Are you the person who can execute? Is it of value to you and the market? Who do you need and why you and why now? So I like the feasibility, value, and market and you kind of way to look at this. And so from there, if it is doable, I think it's the best place to start when you have somewhere to start from. Like you currently have the abilities, right? Like you're the builder or you're the whatever for your product or service. And you start with what you know. That's your means-driven modality instead of goal-driven. That's why founders, you do this work first because you're the one who can. And it also proves to you, what can you do, who do you know, and why does this matter to you? Those things are your given means that you can work with right now. But it also looks at what you shouldn't do as an entrepreneur, because we do have lots of ideas, right? So how do we find the thing we actually need to be working on rather than want to work on? So I frame all of this in what I call the 6 C's. Well, actually, it's not mine, it's a former professor's. The 6 C's of marketing research. And I'll get into that. And I made it small on purpose because it's not the focus of this slide, but it's part of this whole process. So once you do your in-depth market research based on the 6 C's for your framework, you then develop these assumptions about your business model. And I believe that you should start with the 3 biggest pieces of the lean business model canvas: problem, value prop, and customer segment. You have assumptions, right, from your market research. Those assumptions then get put down into your business model on those 3 parts as hypotheses. Then you go out and test and talk to your customers and validate or invalidate your hypotheses. From those customer discovery interviews, you have the framework of an MVP. Your potential customers have told you what their biggest problems are and what value proposition you can provide to them, and that's the thing you make. Rather than spaghetti in a wall or build it and they will come, right? 6 C's of research. Company. What is true and compelling about you and your company and your product or services that will achieve your goals? What are your resources now? What are your core competencies? What are your internal and external stakeholders that are great resources to have right now? customer? What's meaningful to and what will motivate prospective customers to engage with you? Who are they? What's their demographics? What's their psychographics? What's their willingness to pay factor, budget, and all that? Connection. Where are your customers? How do they prefer to engage with you over someone else? Collaborators, partners. How do your partners view you, and how should you position yourself to enhance that relationship with them? Partners are often one of the quickest, easiest ways and cheapest to have really great growth early on with a startup. It's a free set of eyeballs for from someone else's work, and vice versa. Competition. Exactly who is it? What part of the economic slice of the pie do they own? And why are you distinct and more valuable? Context. Where does all of this sit in the landscape of now? Do your pastel analysis, right? What's going on in your industry? What's new in technology? What's the newest tools, right? Like AI, has hammer, where's problem? Like what's going on right now in your industry that you sit in this world of? And it touches all the other 6 C's or the 5 C's. So like I said, you have all of this, you have your market research, and from that you have assumptions in these 3 categories of your business model: problem, value, problem, customer segment. I can't stress enough that if you do not have these boxes of the lean business model canvas first, there's no reason to go on to the other ones. There's no reason to do revenue streams or cost structure or partners or whatever if you don't have this figured out yet, right? And all of this is the same process that I do as a brand strategist. So I have clients pay me thousands of dollars to do this exact research that I already do as an entrepreneur to do idea validation. So that's why I call it entrepreneurial marketing, because it's both the entrepreneurial process as well as a marketing process. And again, from my former professor, so shout out to Betsy, the brand pyramid, it looks a lot like the Simon Sinek circle if you look close enough and squint, but it's all based on the how, the who, what, and the why. But the how at the base, the average American societal norm is when you go to a networking event, you're like, "Hi, I'm Angie. I do a thing." That's the how, right? Everyone can tell you their how, just like Simon Sinek says, right? I can tell you how I do a thing or what I do, but lesser known is the what and the why, right? And for who. But if you look closely, this also ties back to those 3 boxes, right? Your customer. You have to know who your customer is, your customer segment, and what value proposition you're bringing to them. So who exactly are you seeking to serve, and what is the simplest definition of what you do for them? And then the top of that is your why. Why does it matter to you? Why are you doing this? What is the ultimate reason your business exists? That why is what permeates all of your marketing messaging, your marketing matrix. It is throughout. So everything that you do on your website, in all of your collateral, all of your messaging, all of that brand strategy and identity is based on those things. And it's a balance, because I have a technical background. And so when I first got into the world of marketing, I was working at an email marketing and automation platform, and I loved the technology side of it. I was like, I'm not a marketer. I do the technology side, and I help marketers do their job better. But over time, I had to become a marketer. And so I think I bring that fact side of marketing to this piece of whereas before I was like, oh, it's just woo-woo witchcraft. I really don't know how marketers do what they do. How are they employed still? Why are we paying them to just, that was my gut feeling. Also working at a marketing company. But it is a true balance. And so all of that research that we did, all of that discovery that we did with actual customers, and by the way, customer discovery, talking to your customers, it's literally writing the marketing content for you. They just did the work for you. You just had to put yourself in the room with them to have that conversation. It's literally copy paste their words and put on your website. They'll tell you how bad the problem is or how painful it is. They'll tell you why they're willing to pay for it. They'll tell you exactly how it solves their problem and what benefits they get from it. So, in-depth market research, informed customer discovery, assumptions, hypothesis testing, the idea validation and problem validation, also filters out into the beginnings of a brand strategy. Your messaging matrix, if you don't have the right customer in mind, or if you have multiple customers, your messaging won't stick or ring true. So that's why you have to focus on one customer segment, whittle it down to one in your business model to go after first. All of that messaging is reliant upon who you're targeting and what exactly that value proposition is that you're bringing, what value you bring to them. What's the benefit of the features that you have built into your MVP? Not the features that you wanted to build, but the features that they actually need. So brand strategy and brand identity. Brand strategy is more of like the messaging matrix and the words that go out, and identity is more of the visuals. I am definitely not the visual side, but I am very much and have done all of the strategy and the words portion, which I then give all of that research and the words to the identity team, the people who are actually like the visual creators, the designers, the logo makers, the look and feel of your website. Why is it this font and this color? But it also ties into your market research. You don't want to do a look and feel and a marketing message that is of your competitors. You want to own a different slice of the pie, right? So Tailored Mail, the email marketing and automation platform, we owned the slice that we were small and boutique. We handheld you through all of your marketing efforts. We did video and email that no one else did. We had small and nimble development so we could build features just for you, and like massive API calls. So we had a very distinct niche that we owned that MailChimp's not going to touch, right? That no one else is going to touch. So that identity piece comes from all of the work. And a lot of entrepreneurs have a great idea. They want to build the logo and buy the website immediately. In fact, it's actually one of the things that I recommend doing much, much later in the process. Have a code name, have some ideas for what the website might look like, but have your customers and your market research tell you what it needs to look like and what it needs to sound like. All right, I said a lot, and I wanted to end quickly, get into some questions. I have a lot more slides that I can go over on how to do customer discovery, what questions to ask, how to do it, but what questions do you have for me right now? And go ahead and go over to the mic if you have any burning questions on things that I've said.
Great presentation. My question is mainly around the why. Do you just define the why off of what your customers are saying? Or I think a lot of it, to me, I also think about what your core purpose is or your values. And maybe some of that's come from how you served your customers if you've already existed a while, but how do you marry the two there, with what you might think is your business core purpose and your values versus what a customer, they might say your why is?
Yeah, so the question was, how do you marry the two, your why and what you actually do for your customers? Is that?
Yeah, because coming up with your, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of research around figuring out a business's core purpose and their values, which actually differentiates them from the market, right? And a lot of times there are businesses that I'm working with that are already, they're already established, they're already making sales, but they don't really have that defined, what is their why, what makes them different.
Yeah, and I think for me, I like to joke that as a brand strategist, I'm a business therapist, because it's a lot like what a therapist would ask you to uncover this, your mission, your why, your purpose. What makes you happy? What makes you get out of bed in the day, today? But also, how do you want to stay true to your core amidst a changing market? Complexities, audience demands are changing all the time. Things are changing around us. How do you, as a business, but insert therapist, just how do you want to stay true to your core? If you don't know what your core is, I think that's something that it's deeper, that you just keep asking why. And I think that's also not only the 5 whys, root cause analysis in the business world, but also pretty sure it's a therapist technique. Just keep asking why. And you'll get to the reason why you wake up and do the job that you do. But I am a bit of a therapist when I do this uncovering of if they don't know their why. Well, let's dig in. How do you want to stay true? What's your authentic voice? What matters to you? Why are you doing this? Who, at the end of the day, people, I was born a helper. And I think going into the military was one aspect of helping. It was a way to serve others. I do a ton of mentoring, which is a way to serve others. I'm up here to help other people. Like, it is an introspective question. And businesses at the end of the day are people. You're selling to people. So it's really important to nail that. And that's why it's at the top too.
Okay, so I am going through, I want to conduct interviews. I'm actually trying to get started on that for my product. But I'm trying to figure out what questions I should ask, because on one hand, I need to validate the market, but on the other hand, I also want to make sure that we're building the right product. So I'm just trying to figure that out right now. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. So I do have lots of slides on that. So customer discovery in a nutshell, who you're doing, you're talking to early adopters, your prospective customers. And perspective is the key here, and I'm just going to keep saying customers. You want to ask unbiased, open-ended questions, right? Like, do you like my cookies? Yes, no. Like, you have to dig in and get to an emotion. Try to do it in person as much as you can, but video conferencing is the second best. Always do it because you need it at every phase of your business. And you're validating hypotheses or invalidating hypotheses from your business model, like market size. Who exactly is this for, and how big is this opportunity? But who do I go after first? Who has the problem the biggest? Who has the pocketbook to actually be my first target customer? Can I reach them? But if you can't reach them for customer discovery, that's a problem. You can't reach them for customer discovery. You can't reach them as a customer, right? Like in the customer discovery class that I teach here, if you've got a thing for astronauts, like a product for astronauts, but you don't know any astronauts, how the heck are you going to validate or test or find customers? How are you going to get your thing in front of astronauts? So interview tips, I'll share the slides later. You really want to drill into like, why does it matter to them? Who are they exactly? What were they doing right before? Let me see if I have those actual questions. Yeah, tell me a little bit about yourself. I always ask if I can record, and I've never gotten to know. Always record if you can, or if you remember to. Tell me about last time you encountered this problem. What features do you look for in this or that? Where do you go to find news? Where do you go to find industry news? Industry expert? What events do you go to? Where do you find your information? And that's so that you're asking that because channels. You want to go where they are, right? You don't want to do Facebook when your actual customers are in Discord, right? How do you feel about the current solutions? What's lacking? What are you doing now to solve this problem? Why isn't that working? Anytime you hear an emotion, you drill in. Oh, you used to love this product and now it's gone off the shelf? Oh, that must be so frustrating. Yeah, it is really frustrating, and you get more. Or tell me why that's so frustrating. You really got to put your therapy hat on, like you're a therapist. Oh, that sounds awful. Tell me more. Or you repeat back what you think you heard. I think I heard you say X, Y, and Z. Yeah, X, Y, and Z, and A, and B, and C too. Like, you'll always get more if you repeat back. It also shows a little bit of respect that you're listening and doing well with hearing what they're saying if you repeat back. And if you get it wrong, they'll say, no, it's actually blah, blah, blah. So you've gotten more information. So you really do have to ask questions that are open-ended, and you dig in every single time you hear an emotion, whether that's happy or sad or frustrated or angry, to get at those needs and pain points.
Just want to let everyone know we will send out the decks afterwards to all the attendees. But I have a question for you, Angie, which is we get the question a lot, and I say, take Angie's class. But can you spend a minute talking about when is the right time to do price testing? Because there's this compulsion to, they think they're doing customer discovery, but they want to like kill two birds with one stone and get right to price testing. What's your core philosophy on that?
I think for me, my core belief on pricing is that you don't know what your thing costs until you've built it, and you don't know what you need it to cost until then. So there's like a very rough estimate that you can ask in customer discovery, especially if you know your thing's going to be really expensive. But generally, I wait until I have an MVP. And then I can do the things that you've probably seen but might not remember, of like when you signed up for OpenAI. I remember I got a survey from them like, oh, if you pay, how much would you pay for this? Like there's a set of questions that they ask, like, is $20 too much or is that too little? Like at what price point would you think that this is cheap and not worth your time, right? There are questions that you can ask, but it's only after you have a thing to test with and then see if they're going to actually pay for it. Does that help?
So in customer discovery, when you want to validate customers' need, what if the customer doesn't know what they need? I can make it a little bit more concrete. Let's say I want to build software to SMBs, and people run SMBs at a different stage of building their business. The ones at a very earliest stage, they don't really know how to do X, but the people who have done it for a while, they know how to do it. So should I go for customer discovery to people who have done it for a while and ask those people, even though I want to target a segment that is a different segment that they don't know their needs?
Yeah, so I believe that the question really boils down to customer segments, like which customers do you go after first?
Yep.
And that's part of the problem value prop customer segment, part of the business model canvas that I really espouse of getting right, or at least directionally correct. So you're going to start out with like a handful of hypotheses for who you think your customer segment will be first, your first one, your one of 5. So you go and talk to, all of them. Let's just say round numbers, 10 of each kind. You're going to have a clear winner. Like if you were to just write all 5 down and talk to all 50 of them, you're going to have like a tick for yes and a tick for no, a tick for yes, and at the end you're going to go, wow, this one clearly stands out. They have the need, they understand the problem that they have, and they have a budget for it. So you're going to go and talk to all your customer segments that you think might be the first one. And then from all of that discovery, something will fall out. And that's also part of the decisions that you have to make for, is this a financially viable solution for you? Does this customer get you to the next customer? Is it worthwhile financially?
Thank you.